Anything, seeing anything like this in terms of the widespread look of officers with guns in different street corners in Ottawa over a sustained period of time. They're having incidents, a number of them over the past 20, 30 years, but they all seem to be over, fairly quickly.
Right.
This one is taking quite a few hours. Obviously, the security officials want to be sure that it really is over. It doesn't appear that it is over yet, but I guess we'll find out more once they speak. But like this in terms of a across the country situation.
Well, it's interesting. I'm sure I'm not alone in that my kids have been tweeting at me and messaging me today saying, what do you know, what's going on? Because this is really something entirely new for a younger generation of Canadians who learn about the War Measures Act, who learn about the things that unfolded in Quebec years ago in their history book. They learned about it.
Learn about all the false flags.
They've been learning about it on the news, unfolding in front of them. And what may be very different for some of them, even as we look at these pictures, is, as I mentioned to you earlier, Peter, we are hearing now from multiple sources the Canadian soldiers who are not engaged in
the hell are they doing?
Specific tasks today are being told, on your way home, don't run any errands in your uniform. Don't go to your kid's soccer game. Don't go grab groceries. Don't do those things that are normal to all of us. Go home. Do not be out and about in your uniform if you don't have to be. I can't recall ever hearing that through any of the conflicts that Canada has been involved in where that request has gone out. But it speaks to the notion that even though it may be some time before everyone is entirely sure what happened or why, the operating assumption is that soldiers are being targeted.
Don't wear your uniforms in public. I can understand why they put that out.
Sure.
But as you said earlier, it goes to the very core of the being of so many members of our armed forces, is that uniform that they wrap themselves in every day.
The last thing that they would consider doing is, in a moment like this, being out without their uniform. That is a part of who they are, the commitment that they've made. It's the very public face of that commitment. So to be told not to wear it versus choosing not to wear it because it's simply your day off is something that I think many of them may wrestle with at a certain level, but understand. As those who are part of the military, they follow orders. They understand why it's being made. But I also think, all of us, our hearts go out to military families generally today who have never really had to worry about the safety of the Canadian forces when they're home.
Tell me again about the situation for school kids in Ottawa, because that must be frightening to, obviously, not just the kids, but to their parents who worry about how they're getting home. What is the situation? What are they being told again?
So far, the kids are in school, and often that decision is made when there's no real clear and present threat to the schools, and as an effort to try to keep the kids calm, and to some extent their parents. How effective that will be today is anyone's guess. But the schools, the Catholic schools and the public schools have continued the school day, but what they do is that the doors are locked. So whatever events may have been planned, other parents coming to pick up the kids, you're not going to be able to just open the door and get in. Often you can't these days anyway. You may have to be buzzed in by the office, but those doors are locked, so they're held secure. After school, the school buses, we're told, are still going to run because you need to get these kids home. But after school events, whether it's a field hockey practice, a rugby practice, band practice, any of that, canceled. Anything that would have been held at the schools tonight, not going to happen. It's about getting these kids through the school day and getting them home.
All right, Diana, thank you for these continuing updates on a story that's got the attention of everybody in the country. Thanks. Let's go back to Ottawa. Evan Solomon is there. We heard, Evan, earlier that the President of the United States wanted to talk to the Prime Minister when he had the opportunity to talk. We're being told now that that conversation has now taken place.
Yeah, we're just hearing the first reports that they have spoken to the President of the United States and the Prime Minister. We don't know about what, obviously, about the security situation here in Ottawa and the ongoing nature of it. Again, we don't really know anything more except that they have connected, and it gives you an indication, obviously, how much attention the situation that is still going on here in Ottawa is starting to garner. Now we're waiting, as you say, for this report from police and the RCMP to start to get any details on if any suspects are still out there, what exactly happened inside Centre Block. We've heard lots of reports from people who are still locked down inside Centre Block, some of our colleagues and certainly some MPs. We heard reports from the Sergeant-at-Arms, Kevin Vickers, that he had allegedly shot the suspect to death in that exchange of gunfire. Peter, it's fascinating. We showed that picture of the Prime Minister getting briefed by RCMP Commissioner Bob Paulson. It was just on October 8th, I think, that the Commissioner, the head of CSIS, and the Security Director, the National Security Advisor for the Prime Minister, they were at committee, and they were briefing committee members on the security status here in Canada and the situation. And it was Commissioner Paulson who had said, look, we are monitoring 90 people who have come back from being perhaps radicalized overseas and are coming back here. We have done 28 interventions. That means they interviewed them. But he said Canadians should not be alarmed. So he's trying to calm down the situation there. Now, we don't know, Peter, if this is remotely related to that. We don't know the motivations of these shootings. We don't know any of that yet. It's still too early to tell, and we'll wait to hear that from the RCMP. But we had just heard from the RCMP that they're monitoring everyone. They've got the situation carefully under control, and there's no reason to be alarmed. And now we've had two very dramatic events here. First, the hit-and-run incident in Quebec, where a Canadian Armed Forces member was killed by someone who was on the radicalized list, who had his passport revoked. And now today, the situation in Ottawa, where Parliament Hill is in lockdown. Somebody has been killed right inside Centre Block. As you say, we're waiting word on the Canadian reservist at the War Memorial, waiting to confirm his status. Jason Kenney, Senior Minister, had tweeted out the tragic news that this person had died. He was given CPR. I saw that, but from then we don't know exactly his status. We're waiting for confirmation. But again, the security situation that we'd heard, Peter, that there was no reason to be alarmed, has now dramatically changed. And Peter, at this moment, we are going to move into a bit of a new world here. This situation is dramatic enough that there will be some fundamental changes. And we'll just have to see exactly what's going on, how big this possible attack has been. And of course, then there'll be a calibrated response, Peter.
Okay, let me just confirm a couple of things now, because we're getting just moments before the RCMP are due to speak. We are getting some official now response on some of the injuries and some of the deaths. Ottawa Police Service and RCMP responded to reports of shooting incidents this morning. This is coming from the Ottawa Police. In the downtown area, police can now confirm that incidents occurred at the War Memorial, Parliament Hill. Well, we certainly know that. We've seen it. Contrary to earlier reports, no incident occurred near the Rideau Centre. All right, that one comes off the board now. It was suggested by a number of different police officials it had, but now they're saying no. One shooting victim succumbed to injuries. He was a member of the Canadian Forces. This is the first official confirmation now. We did hear from Jason Kenney, the senior cabinet minister, that this had happened. This was the young guard, we believe, from Hamilton, who was standing on guard at the National War Memorial, who was the first person shot. Next of kin notification is underway, and as such, the ID will not be released. One male suspect has also been confirmed deceased. So that, in fact, as Kevin's been reporting the last couple of hours, that appears to be the shooter who was caught in those pictures that you're seeing at the bottom of your screen, shot by the Globe and Mail.
The Globe and Mail get in there.
At the end of that hallway. No further update on injuries at this time. This is an ongoing joint police operation. There is no one in custody at this time. They're saying it's ongoing, but they're not saying there's more than one suspect. But it would seem to indicate if the investigation, the operation is ongoing, that they're still looking for other people. But obviously we're going to hear more about that when they have their news conference in a few moments. A number of RCMP and federal government buildings are also closed to the public, as is Ottawa City Hall, all Ottawa police stations, as Diana reported a few moments ago. If you work in one of the downtown buildings, follow the instructions from the building management that you are in. Ottawa Police Service wants to speak to witnesses of today's shooting incidents, and we know they were after those witnesses immediately. Ones we talked to just minutes after all this unfolded said that they had already spoken to Ottawa police officials on the scene.
Of course.
Those with tips regarding the shooting incidents or those looking to report suspicious activity can call, 911.